Welcome back, subscribers, and welcome new viewers. So I'm going to read from my Pluto book. Those of you that are interested to know, the title is, this is the volume 1, The Evolutionary Journey of the Soul by Jeffrey Wolf Green. And today I'm going to be reading Pluto in aspect to Mars. Okay, so I neglected to find the place here. I apologize, but I want to thank each and every one of you who have liked and subscribed and share my videos, because that assists them to circulate to more and more individuals just like you who are needing this information. So thank you all so very much. And this specifically has to do with any of your natal planets, natal Pluto, opposing, conjuncting, or squaring your natal Mars. Okay. And for those of you that want to have a written copy of this, please just leave me an email and let me know. And let me know what copy you would like, and I would be happy to do so. All of my information is in the description box, drop-down box below this video and all of my videos. All right, so let's get started. Now, this is going to be long, so hopefully I'm going to keep reading through, and I will let you know when it's close to, if it gets close to my video automatically shutting off. And, okay, but I'm just going to keep reading. All right, so Pluto in aspect to Mars. Before we discuss the specifics of Pluto aspected to Mars, a general discussion of the connection between these two planets is in order. In traditional astrology, we have learned that Mars is a lower octave of Pluto. A lower octave is a denser expression of a higher vibration. From an evolutionary point of view, Pluto is correlated to the soul. As explained in chapter 1, the soul has two archetypal desires. One, to separate from the source of the soul, and one, to return to the source. The dual desires coexist and interact. The soul is rooted in our unconscious. How then do most of us know that the soul exists beyond the testimony of enlightened beings or spiritual teachers and their teachings? We can all know that the soul exists by the simple fact that we have desires. All of us have myriad desires that dictate what we think we need, which leads to the choices that we make. These choices determine the actions that we take. Actions lead to reactions, which create new actions, and so on. Mars is the lower octave of Pluto, and thus correlates to the conscious component in our personalities that instinctively initiates or acts upon the desires originating from the soul. Mars represents the instinctive urge in all of us to act, to become, to move forward with our lives. Is it not true that we are all in a continual state of becoming at each moment of our lives? To become is to act, to be in motion. And each of us is becoming who we are as unique individuals according to karmic action reactions, and evolutionary laws. These laws are determined by our previous as well as our current desires. If I kill someone this very moment, I myself may be killed in the very next moment. Because Mars is conscious and Pluto unconscious, most of us feel that our desires originate at a conscious, egocentric level. My ego is in control. The fact is that all desires originate from the soul and are transmitted to the individualizing aspect in all of us. Mars. Mars instinctively acts to fulfill the desires originating in the soul. This dynamic is the very basis of the Indian concept of Maya. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Capital M-A-Y-A. The illusion of separateness from the universal whole of our source. Excuse me. The illusion of separateness from the universal whole or source. The classic example of the wave upon the sea will suffice to illustrate this point. If my consciousness is centered in the wave, then from the wave's perspective, I am an egocentric individual. If my consciousness is centered in the sea, the source of the wave, then I realize I am but an individualized aspect of the sea, the wave. As the wave must return to the sea, so too must all of us in our evolutionary journey return to the source. Mars is the wave. Pluto, the soul, is the source of the wave. Yet Pluto, the soul, is also a wave of the ultimate source, that which created the soul as well as everything else. Just as the wave will resist returning to the sea for a time because of its upward motion and momentum, so too do all of us resist returning to the source that created us. Mars represents the personal, conscious, and subjective will that is centered in our personality. The soul, because it contains dual desires, simultaneously correlates to the will of the source and the will to remain separated from that source. This dynamic is the basis for conflict within an individual, between individuals, and between an individual and the source. This conflict originates in the soul and is reflected through our personalities. Our personalities are created by our souls relative to the karmic and evolutionary laws set in motion by each of us. The karmic and evolutionary laws are in direct relationship to our prior actions and desires. Again, Pluto transmits its desires to Mars. With respect to the coexisting desires in the soul, it is not true that each of us will consciously sense that there is something more after we have obtained something that we have desired of a separating nature. In a conscious way, Mars reflects the unconscious desire to separate and return. Thus, we can desire the new lover, position, possession, and so forth, yet still feel there is more. We are dissatisfied after the temporary glow of actualizing what we had desired of a separating nature. It is this sense of dissatisfaction that consciously reflects the unconscious desire to return to the source, the ultimate satisfaction. The point is this: the relationship of Mars to Pluto in the birth chart, the house and sign locality of each, and the aspect or phase linking them will describe how the individual acts to implement Mars, the desires originating from the soul, Pluto. The house and sign locality of Mars represents an area in the birth chart through which many kinds of desires are manifested or transmitted in order to become, at every moment in time, who we are destined to become according to our karmic and evolutionary laws. It should be clear that free will or choice exists in the soul relative to which desires are acted upon and which are not. Via transmission to Mars, this phenomenon of free will and choice is also reflected in our conscious personalities. And I also want to say here at this moment that our nodes of the moon, which is put in our subconscious and or subconscious and or unconscious, just like what he's talking about. And I believe he's talking about when he says karmic, looking at our birth chart and our karmic, just a second here, where is it saying that? Karmic, when he says anything about karmic, karmic and evolutionary laws. Karmic laws, in my opinion, what he's talking about has everything to do with our nodes of the moon, specifically working through our south node of the moon, because that is put in our subconscious, and that is something that is a blockage. That's something we have to bring out consciously into our conscious awareness, our frontal lobe, before we can take care of it. And so Mars and Pluto have everything to do with that. In addition to just Mars and taking care of Mars and Pluto, but you want to be consciously aware of Mars and Pluto also included in your south node, or along with your south node, and what was put, that program that was put in at birth, south nodally for you as well. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, I'm going to skip a little ahead because he's going to do something, talk about someone's chart specifically, and I'm just going to continue this a general reading. So again, if you'd like a copy of this, I will, you just email me, and because he's going to be talking about Pluto in Leo in the 9th house. Okay, trining Mars and Sagittarius in the 2nd house. Okay. All right. And trines and sextiles, they are nice to know about because they are compatibilities that all of us have and that our chart has, and that whatever two planets are being talked about. So they are compatible, they are easy, they are flowing energies that are assisting us kindly and, again, compatibly. Energetically, they are compatible, whether it's having to do with the house placement or the zodiac placement. So, okay, so let's continue. There are many paths to the truth, Internal and external philosophical and intellectual confrontations would lead to this lesson. They would promote a necessary objective. With Mars in the second house, the individual, he's still talking about, I apologize. Okay, he's still talking about Mars in the second house and in Leo. So I'm still gonna fast forward that. Okay. Let me just a moment here. Okay. The key to working with the tremendous amount of raw energy and power inherent in the Mars-Pluto aspects is to direct it toward goals that are personally relevant to the individual. By channeling this energy and power, these individuals will be able to effect a consistency and continuity of action in their lives. By harnessing this power through linkage to relevant goals, they can create a dynamic for processing their energies. In other words, self-knowledge and understanding can occur through the activity that the commitment to a goal requires. Until such a commitment is made, many of these individuals will follow one desire after another, each desire taking them to one experience after another. Dissipation of personal energy will occur. As a result, these individuals can experience a loss of perspective as to who they are and what they are doing, and for what reasons. All of those with Mars-Pluto aspects have a deep-seated need to transform the limitations of personal reality and individual identity. Personal energy must be channeled and linked to a relevant activity in order for this transformation and evolution to take place in a positive manner. Water passing through the generators in a dam offers an apt analogy. The dam channels water through portals. The water turns the generators, which produce tremendous quantities of electricity. In the same way, channeling energy will allow for personal transformation of pre-existing limitations, so the Mars-Pluto individual is in a continual state of becoming at every moment in life. Commonly, these individuals will resent any restrictions or limitations placed upon them by external agents or conditions. They will also resent any restrictions of limitations that they find within themselves. The desire and compelling drive to eliminate all limitations reflects the need to discover who they essentially are at a core level. The house locations of Pluto and Mars, plus their signs and aspects, will suggest or describe how this personal transformation will take place relative to the evolutionary intent and desires that these individuals have. Okay. The potential for inner conflict is enormous. Okay, right. And so it sounds to me like he is also talking about normally the harsh aspects are the ones that are talked about in detail, because those are the ones that are the hardest on us, that are the hardest force. They are the most rubbing us raw, which is square, oppose, opposition, or conjunct. So, being that he also has the personal example in a trine position, to me that's saying that he's letting us know that no matter, even if it's trine, if you have Pluto trine or even sextile your Mars, it's going to have this effect, but it's not going to be as harsh. It'll be a lot easier to deal with, and you will have a lot more easier flowing and understanding, and just a flow, and it won't be so that like sandpaper grating against you. It won't be so hard. The hard ones, the hardest is square, and then the other two, and this differs from astrologer to astrologer, so you decide for yourself. But square, opposition, conjunct are considered to be the most harsh, and the very most harsh, in my opinion, is square. And then the other two follow in. Opposition, to me, is next, and then conjunct is next. Okay, of the three harshest. Again, that's my opinion. So you decide for yourself. And for those of you that have trine or sextile, also you decide for yourself. Okay. Okay, so again, the potential for inner conflict is enormous. Okay. Okay, now he's going to go into specifics with Pluto square Mars. So this is specifically for all of you with Pluto squaring your Mars. Many of these instinctive encounters with others could be of a sexual nature, or the individual would be tempted to sexualize them. Again, don't feel bad for those of you that squares. This you were born with. You were born with that. Okay. Now he's talking, let's see here. Let's see. This has to do with Pluto and Cancer in the 4th house. Okay, I'm going to skip that. But any of you who have Pluto and Cancer or the 4th house, you're going to want to have a written copy of this. So please send me an email. I will absolutely send you a copy of this. Talks about Mars in Libra as well. Okay, in general, Mars, Pluto aspects promote a tremendous amount of sexual energy for all the aspects. The intense emotional power of Pluto is now linked to the physical nature of Mars. The buildup of emotional, sexual energy must find a release. If it does not, then emotional distortions of all kinds can result. This dynamic has two possible extremes of expression. One, to be driven and controlled by the sexual desire nature, or two, to be in control of the sexual desire nature. The stressful aspects tend to promote more extreme levels of emotional sexual energy than do the non-stressful aspects. Okay, so now he just made a distinction like I did before. The non-stressful aspects are trine and sextile. The stressful, conjunct, opposition, square. And to let all of you know, my Mars and Pluto are opposed to each other. And again, any of you who want to, that don't know, I also read my information, my astrological information. So each and every one of you, if you want to see my natal chart, you are free to do so. So this levels the playing field for all of us. You can see what I have been going through my life and all of that as well. Okay. The desire and need is to exhaust or rejuvenate one's self through sexual experiences. And again, especially those of us who have square, opposition, or conjunct. Natal Pluto, natal Mars. Okay. And you might have it in just squaring one of the harsh, just in and they might be a combination of square, opposition, conjunct in the house and or the zodiac sign as well. For some, not all. Okay. The desire, okay, many will experience a personal transformation of limitations through emotional, sexual experiences. Absolutely. There is a compelling need for this kind of experience. So again, don't feel bad. This is what you were born with. You were going to be forced in a way or strongly encouraged because of this Pluto Mars aspect and whatever else that you have in your natal wheel. Okay. Emotional sexual energy can take many directions within these individuals. The actual direction depends on the individual's overall values and belief systems and the condition or placements of Mars and Pluto within the birth chart. Some will transmute their sexual energy by focusing upon the fulfillment of a goal or ambition. By using and directing the emotional sexual energy in this way, the individual becomes consumed by the ambition or goal itself, through which a transformation or personal limitations can occur. Okay. And then he's talking specifically about Mars in Scorpio in the 8th house, squaring Pluto in Leo in the 5th house. So some of you might have that or part of that. Okay. Others with Mars, Pluto aspects will compulsively need sexual release through relationships. The need and desire is to unite one's energies with other sources of power so that a transformation of personal limitations can take place. Naturally, then, these individuals desire to be sexually united and consumed through or with others. The quality of sexual expression is intense. When partners are not available, however, the pressure of the emotional sexual energy can also translate into compulsive yet necessary masturbatory activity. And especially those of us, I'm included, who have south nodes in the 8th house or in the 7th house. Okay. and or Pluto in the 8th house, possibly the 7th house, and or Mars in the 8th house. Any of those major planets. Is there any other major planet? Well, I can't, not that I can think of at the moment. Okay. Because the reason why I'm specifically stating the 8th house and possibly the 7th house is because the 8th house has to do with sexually consummated relationships. And so maybe even Venus in the 8th house or Scorpio, because the 8th house is the natural house of Scorpio and Pluto. Okay. Okay. Could be even South Node in Taurus as well. And or the 2nd house. Possibly. You be the judge for those of you that have that. Okay. The sexual expression is intense, and in these individuals, because of the subconscious desire, again, subconscious desire, south nodes, subconscious desire to penetrate and transform the limitations of themselves and others. These individuals have a need to penetrate and be penetrated. Some will use sexuality as a form of control or manipulation in relationships when emotionally wounded. For others, the bottom line of their lives will revolve around their sexuality. They will be consumed and driven by it. Most will experience instinctive and hypnotic sexual attractions to others. Some of these attractions may turn into obsessions. Some individuals will claim the right and freedom to pursue these attractions. Others will attempt to control the attractions by not following them or not acknowledging them. And again, I'm going to say, and you might do both. This is, you be the judge. At different times in your life, you absolutely might do both. I did. Many Mars-Pluto individuals will need to reject and rebel against sexual taboos. Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, what I have gained and found out to be true, and again, you find this out for yourself, but I am saying a fact, that sin, which is taboos, through religion, is man-made to keep us feeling guilty, to keep us feeling shameful, and to keep us quiet, to keep us from dealing with it, being able to deal with it properly. Okay. And that might anger some of you. I'm not doing that to anger anyone, but ask yourself, why is that angry trigger coming up? Or hate, or whatever negative emotion might be coming up. For those of you that were born into religion, which we all, on different varying degrees, whether you are still religious right now, ask yourself that question. Okay. Okay. So, where was I? That's very, 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 very important, and I'm going to read that again here. Let me see. Got to... Okay. Okay. Many Mars-Pluto individuals will need to reject and rebel against sexual taboos as dictated by societal or familial environments. That is a must. Some will explore or desire to experience many secret or, quote, forbidden forms of sexual experience. The power of sexual energy and the desire for self-discovery through this kind of experience can hypnotically attract these types. Some with this aspect have experienced very painful and difficult emotional sexual experiences in prior lives. Absolutely, yes, yes. Some have experienced rape or have been the rapist. Others have suffered physical and emotional violence or have been the violent one. When these conditions are indicated in the birth chart or through the actual experience of the client, then the cause for these conditions will always be found within the individual's own prior life background or through causes that have been put into motion in this life. And astrologically speaking, any of us with south nodes in the 8th house, south nodes in Scorpio, even possibly again south or north nodes in the 8th house, and south or north nodes in Taurus or the 2nd house. Possibility, north node in, yes, okay, I said all of that. And even Mars or Pluto in the 8th house, possibly even in, absolutely Pluto in Scorpio or the 8th house, even in, maybe even the 2nd house, Pluto, maybe even Pluto in the 12th house. Anyway, there are others that I can't think of. I don't want to take too much time because I know this is, I must get through this whole reading for you because this is big stuff, very, very essential stuff. For those of you that are still here, you know how essential this is. Okay. Okay. Most commonly, these individuals have put into motion in this life. Most commonly, these individuals have misused their emotional sexual expression and energy in the past. That is true. This could have occurred through using their sexuality to get what they wanted from someone, especially this is going to be females. Or if you were a female, for those of you in a past life, or females now in this life. Or through emotionally manipulating a situation. In some cases, they have struggled with conflicts over commitment to a partner versus the desire to be free, to be involved with whomever they wanted. This collision of desire can also be the basis of physical and emotional violence when one partner has felt used, manipulated, or abused. That's why there is no blame. There is no blame. There is no fault. Other Mars-Pluto individuals have drawn to themselves partners who have had this problem of conflicting desires. In this case, that type of partner is only reflecting the overt or covert conflict inherent in the individual. The point is that some of these individuals have difficult sexual emotional karma that has built up over time. And that means ancestral time, generations. And you can tell, those of you that are interested, you can tell, or needing this information, south nodes and or different planets and their planet house placements and or sign placements do move on and pass on generation to generation when they're not able to be taken care of, or when they haven't been taken care of in past generations. Okay. And past lives is another one too. For those of you that see that to be accurate for you, however you see it. But you can absolutely see it in the natal wheels of family members, that if you're able to do that. For example, for me, Scorpio South Node and the 8th House South Node, for me personally, that was passed down in both sides, my mother's side of the family and my father's side of the family, through their parents, their grandparents. It's pretty amazing. It's very, very amazing when you're able to do that. And again, there's no blame. And then you can see that there's no fault either. There's no fault. There's justification. Okay. That's why I love astrology so much. True ancient astrology. And I see this to be ancient astrology. The nodes specifically, and these types of things that I'm reading right now. Okay. The point is that some of these individuals have difficult sexual emotional karma that has built up over time. The effect of sexual and emotional confrontations is to induce the awareness and knowledge. This is why the experiences of why these experiences are occurring. Again, that's what he just said. The answer always is found in the individual's own desires and prior activity based on these desires. A few individuals have created an evolutionary situation wherein they have learned to deny or suppress their sexuality and needs. The fear of vulnerability, of being possessed or controlled by another, is the cause. Such people will attempt to transmute the energy toward the fulfillment of a goal or ambition, or they may masturbate as the intense buildup of energy demands a release. It demands a release. In general, Mars-Pluto individuals have the capacity for total self-transformation. Did you hear that? Or, okay, you have both. Self-transformation, total self-transformation, or total self-destruction. And again, Pluto being involved, it's going to take you, force you to the depths of hell. Mars is another powerful one, but Pluto is even more powerful. And for those of us with that, and if you have a corresponding south nodal placement, it's going to absolutely, you will be taken into the depths of hell, to the very root, so